think easy. Don't make problems where they don't be, no? When you have to do something, a choice or something, think easy, like a child. Eliminate the cloud that is around the choice, and you see the right choice. If you eliminate the smoke and everything that is all around, no? That's the sense. But think easy, is the easiest way.
Hello and welcome to the Unlock Lab podcast. Oh my gosh, have I got an incredible episode for you today. I speak with Niccolò Tiberini. He is a winemaker, and I think like me, he is a life lesson excavator. He shares so much knowledge that comes from his life experience of losing his mother at the age of 13 to running a winery and making the choice to choose what he loves to do versus choosing the thing that was going to make him a lot of money. We talk about a lot of different things, and I hope that you sit with this deeply to think about those lessons that he shares that you can easily apply to your life and use to really evaluate how you're making some life choices. I'm just so excited for you to get to know Niccolo, because when I had a tour with him in September of 2025, I knew I had to have him on his podcast, and I'm so glad he said yes. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I am the founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and I do the work at the intersection of personal growth and professional breakthrough. So I help people get out of their own way in their career and business. And if you want to learn more about how I can bring my work to your organization and to you as an individual, you can visit CoachTosca.com. That's CoachTosca.com. All right, so Niccolo, we had a beautiful day on the vineyard at your winery. My husband and my niece, we did a wine tasting, and we didn't have a huge long tour, but you spent a generous amount of time with us. And in that time, I asked some questions and you just had these most amazing responses. And I was like, man, I think I need to have you on my podcast because you just said some really profound things and have this beautiful perspective on life, which is, very different from a lot of folks that I talk to on this platform. So thank you for making the time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here because it's beautiful what you do. And it's beautiful also for me to be here and to speak about my experience in life.
Yes. And my understanding is this is your first podcast interview.
Yes. It's my first time.
The first of many, hopefully, if that's something that you want to do more of. Is that you see yourself doing more of this maybe?
Yeah, why not? So I try to be open to everything now because it's fun and it's also beautiful. Have the possibility to explain what I do every day and my kind of life, no?
Yes, I love that. See, that's part of what I love about you. You're just like, yeah, sure, why not? I asked you literally as we were getting in the car leaving. I was like, would you be open to being on my podcast? And it was like an immediate yes. So I just love that you just take life and you're like, sure, why not? But I'd love to start with your career journey. You're a young man still. And so you're very early on, relatively speaking, to what's ahead of you. But I know that you took some left turns. So can you share a little bit about where did you grow up? What were you interested in? What was that career journey? And what were those different points of decisions that you had to make?
I was born in Montepulciano, so in the center of Tuscany. I grew up in the middle of the vineyards. For me now, it's easy to make wine, no, because I run the family winery. It's easy doing this because for me, start with a game like when the children play, no, and for me was the same going with my grandfather with the tractor. So for me was my game, no. After I have at 15 the possibility to go away from Montepulciano because I start to play football in some professional teams, and I arrive in the third series of Italy, and I think was very beautiful experience, of course, because from 15 to 19 I was far away from home, from my family, from my friends. And I lived alone for 5 years. I think it was my university, because from this moment I start how to live alone, how to have an house, how to spend money, how to spend the time, because I had to study, but I was alone, so nobody say me you have to study because you have to go to school. So the responsibility was big, but was my training for the life. No, I consider this my training for life. And at 90s, when I finished the school, I decided to change my kind of life, because for me it's not important the money, and I have a lot of money to play football, so soccer in US, and I was very very young with a lot of money, but for me it's not important to have a lot of money, but it's important to be satisfied about life. Uh, and I decided to come back to work in the winery because this is my passion. I think people can understand what I do because it doesn't seem that I'm at work, no, and I don't feel at work. For me, it's a lifestyle because I do many different things every day, going in vineyards in the morning, then in the cellar, then in the office or wine tasting. We travel a lot, so I sometimes I go often around the world, and this, of course, is the most beautiful part, because travel maintain my mind open. No, this is what I think, and I think travel it's very important, and I consider traveling very important in a life of every person, because I arrive from a very little town, so 5,000 people. We are here with the past generations was mostly farmers, and now the new generation arrive now to see what happened in the world, and my generation travel maybe 2 or 3 times more than the past generation because we have the possibility. But many people here is very common, and in Italy, in the little town of Italy, to be closed, no, in some way, because they don't know how is the war, because they didn't have the possibility to travel, or they didn't like to travel because it happened. So I didn't like to study, at school, because I don't like when someone tell me to do something that I don't know the final result or the use in my life. But for every different things like vineyards or how making wine, new technologies or something, I like to study a lot because I want to learn, to understand, no, and because it's important to have an open mind, because the world change and now go very fast. And if you have an open mind, I think it's easier to change your life to be better in the world. Because I think this is the sense for me to go ahead, no, to have the satisfaction about the life. An happy life, it's the goal, no?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Happy life is the goal. Like that's everything, right? And thank you so much for sharing your journey. And I want to dig into a little bit of this because there was so much there to kind of unpack. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge you remind me of my young nephew, Tony, because I think he's much like you in terms of like, if I'm learning something, I want to know that it's useful. I want to know that it matters that I'm learning this thing. So I think that's very much how he operates versus, just accepting like this is the curriculum and maybe you'll use this calculus or maybe you won't, but like this is what you're supposed to learn. Was I hearing that correct in terms of like your preference for education?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm throwing that out. I hope he listens to this to say, you know what, Tony, you're not alone, in how you feel about this. And I say that just because, sometimes when you approach life differently than the majority, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard because the world wants to put you in the process that it it believes versus you honoring like, this is actually what is for me. And I don't want to gloss over this, right? You mentioned you went away to study football/soccer to have a professional career in that. I mean, that's how talented you were. You were on that track to do that professionally, but you decided to come back home and you decided to work at the winery. Was that a difficult decision? What was going on in your life at that time where and maybe it wasn't like this, but I'm imagining that maybe it was you were faced with a crossroads. Do I continue on the pathway of making really great money playing football, or do I choose another path? Was it that like A or B option, or was it something different for you?
No, so when I decided to stop, to come back at the winery, of course, it was difficult to choose this because you think when you start a new business or a new way of life, you think to arrive at the end of the life in this way, no? Because when you want to choose is this the volunty, but I was good because my career in football was good, but sometimes I arrive at the end of the day not satisfied because something was not at the right place. And I start to think about what I want to do because I think it's important for me. And I discovered this day by day, but now with the experience, so now I consider me maybe 3 times more experienced than 15, of course, because the age build the people, no? Now, if I think the past, I'm happy because I have a different kind of life and I choose the best kind of life for me. When I decided the moment, I remember the perfect moment when I decided to come back and I called my father and I say, this year I want to come back and work in the winery because I want to do this. Of course, my father was happy. But I stopped alone at home without zero pressure, zero everything, no? And I start to put into plates what was good and what was not good. And at the end, I decided, no, because the emotional part in the decision, it's important. It's always important. And I think it's important for the people to know themselves, to know their emotion, because I know my emotion and I know when I think something because I'm hungry or because I'm happy or because, and I recognize when I think because I'm thinking about if it works or not. Huh?
I love that so much. I love the way you share your experience. It's so beautiful because what I'm hearing you say is, yeah, you had like the pro and con list and hey, what's good about this, what's not good about this. But at the end of the day, it was about you honoring how you felt, how this pathway or this option made you feel versus another choice. It makes me so happy to hear actually, because literally yesterday I recorded an episode that talked about passing the baton from your head to your heart. Because when you operate from your head space versus your heart space, we're not tapping into actually the emotions, which are, what I hear you saying and is your belief is that's the most important part, like how you feel, like that's the truth.
Yeah. And choosing something for me, now it's easy, because I had a lot of choices to change my life, and many times later they went well and or not well, but so I don't think about the past, but I use a technique that this is not a technique, but is my technique because I think like a child. So the easiest way is always the best, because what happened when we think something about the everything? No, many people start to think problems, to create problems. And I say why I have to create problems where I don't have problems. What I resolve with problems, and the answer is nothing. And so don't think about problems, think about the solution. This is I think many philosophy books or everything, no, it's written in the walls of half word, but it's real, because if you think about something in the easiest way, it's the best choice every time.
Oh my gosh, keep it simple, right? Like I always talk about like the path of least resistance, right? What feels the best? Because sometimes I think we choose the shoulds, or we choose the have to, or we say, well, no pain, no gain in terms of the reward. Like it has to be hard for it to be rewarding. It doesn't mean the path will be easy, right? Like, because you actually chose a very difficult profession, like winemaking, and like that's not for the faint of heart.
The example for me, it's so making wine is the easiest choice for me, but is the most difficult choice to do.
Right.
Because working in the winery, it's difficult. It's an hard work. I work many hours in the day, during the day, Saturday, Sunday sometimes, and I have not much time for me. But I put my free time inside my work. I'm lucky because, for example, when I have the wine tasting, I speak with people of every part of the world. It's like travel without take a plane, and it's work, but it's not work. No, and I'm lucky because I have this opportunity. But I think in every kind of job, if you do what you like, if you need to work more, you work more. If you want to work less, you can work less because you like, and when you like, you work well. And I think it's the easiest choice. That's the answer.
Oh my gosh. See, this is why I had to have you on my podcast, because when you're saying when you love what you do, when you're really in it, right? It's easy to love it. It becomes easy because your heart is in it. And I think sometimes when we're in situations in our life or in our careers where we may not be at that pinnacle of passion that we want to be, how do we find those things that we can fall in love with as it relates to our job and lean in on that? And I say that because I had to do that in my career. You know, not every role, not every company, not every job was making my heart happy all the time. But I always looked for those things that I really enjoyed to get through the tough patches, the tough jobs, the tough bosses. And that you value that you value that you want to be happy and you want to find contentment. And that came over the career that you could have had making a whole lot of money too, right? Like, so you were kind of faced with, hey, do I go down this path of I get to make a lot of money, or do I go down this path of like really honoring what's going to make me happy, really honoring that the easy choice is saying yes to this thing that I love deeply more than anything. So I'm curious where that value system came through for you, because there's a lot of people that if they were in that same situation, they just chose the path with the money, with the financial success that they could see right in front of them.
Yeah, I think for my family and my childhood, because so I have an open mind family. So nobody, for example, every generation, I'm the seventh generation of my family to run the winery. Not one generation forced the next generation to do this work. Every generation ask and say, if you want to do this, you have your space. If you don't want, you can go. This is why I have a moment in my life where I play football, because it's an experience. I think it's important to do this kind of experience, like I told you before. Another thing is the character of the people, I think, because I don't look the problems, no? So I like to enjoy the life. I like to enjoy what I have, because all the people have problems. Rich people don't have problem of money, but they have other problems. So poor people maybe have problem of money, but not have other problems. I don't know. But if you focus in your problem, you will be unhappy because you think you have problem. If you focus on what you have, you enjoy the life because you can say at the end of the day, oh, okay, today was good because I enjoyed my day and I have all what I build in my whole life. I use this technique to also when I'm angry, because it happened. So I'm not a saint. And
what? You're not a saint? You get angry? No.
No. Yeah, sometimes happen because when you do something and something doesn't work many times, so it happened. But so I think I'm not focused on the problem or in Italy, in Latin, we say pantarei, no? Everything flows. This is something that the school teach me, no? Because it's a way of life that is important. Because if you focus, for example, now what happened in the world, for me, for example, for my business, or there are some people that die all around the world. I think it's the worst thing that can happen. And I have to be happy because here we are safe, we have something to eat, we have an house, we have all the necessary to live a good life. And of course, if one day I will have money to, I don't know, to buy a villa or something, will be better. But it's not my goal buy a villa or a big house. My goal is to live all my life happy.
If you like what you're hearing today, if it's helpful for you, then I am so glad. And I'm going to invite you to sign up for my newsletter because I publish lots of content to help you in times like these. All you have to do is visit the show notes and you'll find the link, or you can visit toscadimatteo.com/newsletter and sign up. I look forward to seeing you in your inbox. I think it's so important what you're saying in terms of really focusing on the things that you want to attract more of, focusing on the solution, to your point, because there's a saying, right, that's very popular, right? Where thoughts go, energy flows. And you mentioned, right, the flow of life. It's really easy to go down a downward spiral when we let ourselves get consumed by the negative thoughts, when we focus on what's not working versus focus what is working. And, you know, this podcast is all about getting unstuck, right? About like getting unstuck of the feelings that are terrible, of the job that's not working out, the situation. It's not about avoiding the difficult work of moving through your emotions, not about ignoring that things might be hard, but of really saying, well, if I'm going to put my attention and focus on something, it's going to be on what I do have. It's going to be on what's working. I literally had to talk myself off the ledge in the past 24 hours because I started looking at my financials and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This isn't what I want it to be, you know, like after 10, 11 months of working this year, right? But then I had to go, oh my gosh, I get to talk to Niccolo this morning. I get to, you know, I'm on another podcast like later today. Like I get to do this work that I love. And I'm going to focus on that versus what is the result of this or what is the output of this. And then actually, I might be skipping around a little bit because I do want to come back to this value of travel and this value of exposure. But in this moment, because I kind of went here, you know, you work in a business where you don't see the results like immediately, right? Even let's just take the growing season, right? That's many, many months. And then let alone when that wine ends up in a bottle. How do you stay motivated when you're not necessarily seeing results? Or maybe you look at results differently. Like, how do you look at those things that you get to pat yourself on the back and say, I did a good job today? Like, how do you stay motivated in that way?
So day by day, when I work a lot, for example, I arrive at the end of the day that I'm very satisfied because I did a lot, so and it's good. But in nature, if you work with the nature, nature is not much. No, sometimes some investor buy wineries here all around, and it happened that we speak together, and they say, "Oh, I spend many dollars for the winery, and I will be back with the money, with the investment in 5 years, and then I start to make money." And they say, "Hmm, are you sure? Because if arrive a year that the production, you lose all the production, what happened?" And they start to think about the real life. But in every kind of job, I think it's good to schedule the future because you need to know what you want to arrive. And for me, I focus it to the maximum. I want to reach the maximum goal as possible, like make the best wine in the world. Of course, this will be impossible because it doesn't exist the best wine in the world. But I want to be recognized in the entire world with the wine. But if I don't reach the goal at the end of my life, 99%, if doesn't happen something catastrophic, because sometimes happen and you have to rebuild your life in another way, I will be better than today. Yeah, this is what I think for my business, but also for my life. Want to be better, but not better to be famous or something. I want to be better in what I do. So, like helping people, be good with people, do everything to don't create problem to the people, try to resolve the problems of the people, because I have a lot of friends that ask me how do something, because I had also some problems in my life. I lost my mother when I was a child, so it's for example, in this moment was very difficult for me because it was my nightmare when I was child and it happened. But from this moment, I start to understand, to appreciate what I have. For me, was the best teaching of my life, because from this moment, I changed probably my mind and focused in something that is better. Because when you are young, when you start to be a teenager, no. And I remember I played football since I was child. So, and my mother was alive, and I have an idea of playing football. When she dies, I start to change my idea of football because I start to play for passion, to have fun. And from this moment, I start to grow up and arrive in the professional series, no? And maybe this is why I decided to stop the football career, because it's not how I imagine the world of Italian football. So it's not the fault of someone, because it's the world, and there are many worlds like cinema, like industry, like everything. So every world is different or similar. It depends how you look. But I think you have to do what you like and what you want to do.
How old were you when you lost your mom?
13.
13. Wow. What a difficult age. I mean, any age, but what I'm hearing you say is that life experience brought you such perspective. When we kind of had a pre-conversation, and one of the messages that you wanted to share with people was like, tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Like, let's not take it for granted. And so you have this like appreciation for like the time that we have. And I imagine that losing your mom at 13 is a big reason why you feel that way and why you live your life in the way that you do, because you got that perspective really early. Does that feel true for you?
Yeah. So I consider to be a man very young, no? But because when happens something like this, you have two choices: take all the world in the face and like going into the wall and you don't know what happened, or you say, okay, from this moment, I start to build my life alone because I lost part of my helper, no, in building life. And I choose the second, and now I'm happy.
It sounds like at the time you went all in on the football and pursuing that because you were passionate about it, you loved it. It was something that you put yourself into at that time. And correct me if I'm wrong. And you tried it and you moved forward, and then you realized it just, oh, this isn't for me. Like, this isn't the thing that I'm most passionate about. And then you were willing to say, hey, that's okay. Like, I went down this path and now it's not for me anymore. And I think that a lot of folks, when they start going down the path, they have tunnel vision in that path, and it's harder for them to see what else is possible, or is it okay to take a left turn here or a right turn? But what I'm hearing in your story is that you're just more comfortable with like experimentation, and like it's okay to like change your mind, and it's okay to move in a different direction. Do you feel that way? Does that feel true for you?
Yeah, so I'm not scary about changes because the world changes and everything. So when arrive some changes, I start to focus on the best way to use the change,
Mm.
because there are something that you control and something that you don't control. So if you adapt, you resolve every problem. So I don't mean change your life because someone tell you to change, but find a compromise that keep you good, healthy, and happy to go in the way of the change.
I just love the way that you express and you share these ideas, right? That especially right now, the world is experiencing such uncertainty and such change and such, on every level, political, economic, digital, technical, all the things, right? And I love that you're just sharing, like, find the compromise in it, adapt, find your way through it. My sense is this life lesson that you have comes from just such deep experience of having to move through difficult things, of having to experience change that was out of your control and finding your way through. And you've talked a lot about valuing getting different perspectives and seeing the world.
Yeah.
And not everybody has made that choice, especially from the small town of Montepulciano
Yes.
of population of 5,000. So how does it make you better? How does it make your business better to get outside perspectives, to see the world from a different place?
So if you consider that my winery is traditional, so we keep the tradition, and we have to think about the use in the future of for the next generation, for example, these changes, if it works or not. Sometimes happen that when you travel, you arrive in some place of the world and you find something that you can replicate in your winery, a concept or a technology or something, but also just like speaking, no, because an idea, philosophy, sometimes happen that you can replicate in your winery. Sometimes convince you that you are in the good way, because not every changes must follow. For example, nature help in this, because when we change something in the process of production of wine, we need to wait years to see the final result. So you lost, for example, for the Pinot Noble that we need 2 years, you lose 2 years to arrive at the end and the result is not good, and 2 years to go back, and you lose 4 years to stay in the same place. This is why it's important to think and decide fast or not fast. It depends how it's big the changes, but when you decide to change, you need to be sure. And arrive in a moment, usually immediately after the changing, arrive in a moment and you say, what I'm doing, because this is not the right way, this is happen. So the first time, the first days, the first month, the first years, it happened because it's normal, because you are adapted in a different way. But when you stop to think about the change is normal. It's not a changing. It's part of the life, no, or part of the process in this case. But another thing to think in the easiest way. You want to do something, do it. You want to change something, do it. Because if you think to change something in your life is because you want to change. And if you want, do it. It's easy. Why you don't change? Because sometimes my friends say, oh, because my father don't want, or because these people don't want, my boss don't want. Okay, but you are not your boss. So if you want to do this, because it's your life. Of course, if it's in the job and your boss say you to do something, you have to do because it's your boss. But it is in different use this. But for your life, you are the owner of yourself, and you have to decide and control your life. Mm. If you don't want to do something because you are lazy or you don't want, it's your fault if you don't grow. Mm. And stop to say justification, because life it's easy, not too complicated, if you think about this.
Yeah, so much that you shared right there, right? Because we have to look outside of ourselves to understand if there's some opportunities for changing, making adjustments, for doing things better, for growing, so that we can have this information to make choices. Because also, especially in your line of work, if you make changes that don't work out, you've lost a lot. So being smart about that. That's one thing I'm really taking away from what you're saying. And another thing that I'm hearing you say is really honor your instinct, honor your intuition, honor the thing that you want to do. There's so much truth in that, and that listening to what you want to do, understanding there's maybe constraints, but listening to that is you living life, is you taking life in your own hands and in your own control, whether or not that thing works out or not. Am I capturing that right?
Yes, it is, because if you are not sure to do something, you start to find some justification. Mm. If you find some justification, you have to think why you are finding justification. Because you don't want, because there are no reason that make this choice impossible. There are no reason. Only you are the reason to don't do this possible, because that's the only way.
That's what we call, by the way, that's what we call a mic drop moment. I don't know if you know this expression, but literally drop the mic, the literal microphone, because you had something so profound there, right? To say that if we know what we want, we know what we want to do, and we start getting into justification, I see that as we're going from our heart to our head. We're going into the rational. And that's a dangerous place to operate from, to then move it into the pro-con list when you have a sense of the choice that you want to make.
Yes. The idea is you have to reduce what you have to choose between, no? Because the choices have to be easy. And if you put in the plate a lot of things, everything is more difficult to choose. For example, to buy a new house, an important part, it's your heart, your emotion. Because if you see the good place, it's difficult to think easily good and bad things. But if you take your time to adapt at this emotion, will be easier to choose. And from this moment, you start to count good things and bad things. And this is math. Plus and minus, no? What is better, what is not better, and you choose. And the time is important, because if you have a short time, this is why in marketing, they push you to choose fast, because you say yes to be fast. But if you have a time of choose, you arrive in a moment and you have to say yes or no. What you say, yes or no, every answer is good. Because if you, in this moment, you choose yes or you choose no, there is a reason. It is not because you drop the money, the coin, no? It's inside you. And sometimes we choose something without know the reason, like in love, for example. There are no rules, but you follow what you feel. And sometimes you need to do this if you don't arrive at the end of your thought about the choice.
What you're saying is so profound because, first of all, in a way, there's no right or wrong, and we can judge ourselves for, oh, I made a good decision or a bad decision. So there's that. But then there's also like trusting yourself, trusting your heart, trusting your emotions, and not getting deep into letting your mind take over with all the pluses and minuses, as you say, is go with it, And I think that's when people get in trouble. I think they get in trouble when they ignore what their heart is saying and what their emotions are saying, especially as it relates to career choices, because we can easily talk ourselves out of the thing that we want, just like love. We can say, I feel this way, but wait a minute, on paper, this person is, well, I don't know, they don't have, all the things, right? Like, so speaking of marketing, because, like wine is marketing, alcohol in general is so marketing driven in terms of being a storytelling type of product. It's not like you're selling Cheerios and it's like, well, do you want apple flavor or like almond flavor? Wine is such about storytelling. In my many years of visiting many wineries and different places all over the world, right? That there is this just beautiful falling in love with the story, maybe even more so than the wine. Of course, you have amazing wine. So like I fell in love with both the story of your 7 generations of winemaking, but also the wine. But I'm curious, because you're so busy, right? You're managing essentially a farm on top of product development, which is the winemaking, and you make time to talk to people from all over the world, to walk them around your vineyard and to do wine tastings. I'd love to hear, why is this? Obviously, the industry does this. Not every winemaker does this. Not every winemaker makes time for this, but you do, and Tiberini Wines does. So why is that? Because I can tell you, like me, my husband, and my niece coming in and listening to what you have to say and being there for, oh my gosh, we were there well over an hour. You so generous. That's not bringing in the bulk of your revenue. So why is it important for you to tell the story to people that come on your property?
So we are a small winery, and we don't have the powerful to make a marketing to arrive in every part of the world. And we don't want to do this too, because first of all, when you comes to our winery, you comes to the family. We have a good winery, but not is the most beautiful winery in the world, because it's not built to be beautiful, but is built to be useful. And when you comes to us to have a wine tasting, you are at home. And for us, it's important to feel the people at home, because it's our kind of hospitality.
Mm.
This is not studied at the table, but this is real, this is natural, because we do personally the wine tasting. You met my father, and all the family. When we follow the people, we want to have fun too, because imagine how difficult it is explain the same thing every day, all the year, because the winery is this. Sometimes change. We have one wine on another wine, but so the winery is this. But if we have fun, the people that are with us have fun too. And our kind of experience, it's maybe it's a new concept because someone start to copy us, but I think it's difficult to copy because we are real. And if you comes to my winery and you ask me something about this, what we say, I say you the same thing, because I'm this, without filter, without everything. So, and at the end, I don't want to be appreciated like a person, but I want the people like and enjoy the experience that they have at the winery. So this is another explanation why it's important to travel. Because when I travel, of course, you go to see the monuments. Of course, you see the most touristic place. Because, for example, when you go to Rome, you go to see the Colosseum because it's important to see and everybody wants to see. But I think every people that comes to Italy, to Rome, and so the Colosseum was not the best experience of their vacation. Maybe the best experience is the little restaurant with the grandmother that cooks, or the winery like mine, I hope, because the beautiful experience, the most beautiful experience is the real experience. And also in the business, in the experience in wine, for example, can be real, because we sell the experience, of course, because we have to live. But inside this experience, if we are speaking, if you're speaking about life, about your job or my winery, if we need, for example, a few drops more of wine, one glass more of wine, because it's useful for speaking, we serve another glass of wine. It is not this part, the experience is like nature, no? Because the wine, we call in Italy the social glue, because in a front of a glass of wine, you can speak hours and hours with a strange people. This is what we do every day, because we want to live to the people a real experience of Italy. Because if you do, for example, many people that comes to Italy and book a tour of Italy, no? They start from the south and arrive to the north in 1 week. They don't see nothing because it's too fast to see everything. For this reason, it's important for us to give another kind of experience that is real. That's the sense.
If you are listening to this podcast and you are starting to think about the decisions that you've been making on your career path and are wondering how to make it easier, how to make it more clear for yourself, and how to honor what truly makes you happy, then I invite you to reach out. Let's set up an exploratory call, because I can help you on that journey. I can help you to clear some of that fog that you may be experiencing. This is the work that I do as a career transformation coach. To do so, visit CoachTosca.com and visit the contact page to set up an exploratory call. I look forward to talking to you soon. I love so much of what you just shared. First of all, wine as the social glue, just beautiful expression there. And what I'm hearing you say is it's so much more than just bringing awareness to your wines. What I'm hearing is it's what brings you joy in your day, in what you do, and also that in a way, in and of itself, it is an offering. The experience is an offering. The experience of Tuscany, the experience of Montepulciano, the experience of your family and your vineyard, and that alone brings you joy. Am I kind of reading that right?
Yes, and also because we are alive for several generations, also in the wine, because we are this. We have this identity. You like, you don't like, doesn't matter because it's normal. But I tell to the people that I hope that at the end of the wine tasting they are. So I'm happy if they like one wine, and maybe they drink 5, 6 different kind of wines, because all the wine are different. All the wine, the tasting, the taste depends about the people, about their experience, because I start to drink wine, to enjoy drinking wine after 20. Before I drink wine, but I started to drink wine when I was very, very young, the first drop, but I didn't really like. I drink wine for tasting, to understand the smell, to understand the sensation, what are inside, to understand what is good and what is not good in a wine. So to know for making wine. This is a part of the life of the people, that you do something. And I remember when I was young, I say, oh, but I'm not sure to continue this work because I don't like wine, and I don't know how to make wine because I don't like. But everything flows, no, like before, and is the same what I'm doing now. So I never thought to be in a podcast speaking in English about life. So it's like a dream for me. And I remember when I started to speak in English, because in Italy we study English, but at school we don't know, when we finish the school, it's difficult to speak in English with another person. Maybe if you read some phrases or something, but the English is not perfect. I remember at 18, I were the first time with my father in Germany to a wine fair. He left me alone at the stand to explain the wines, and I started to speak in English, and for me was dramatic. So when you went away, it was dramatic, but I jumped and I survived. It's a little thing, but it's something that happened in life of the people, no? Big or small jump, but for me in that moment was a very high jump.
Yes. I love that. Your dad was like kicking you out of the nest, you
Yeah.
gotta do
Yes.
you gotta do the difficult thing. And and look at where it's gotten you. You've had conversations with people from all over the world. And here we are on this podcast. And I know you've been so generous with your time. And I know we're coming to a close with our time together. And I wanted to ask you something that I asked you while we were on the tour. I don't know if you remember what you said, but I asked you, what do you do when things get challenging? Right? Because, like, in your line of work, right? There's so much that's outside of your control. The weather, right? Like what happens in nature that affects the outcome of your product, not to mention the people and those dynamics that you deal with day in and day out. And do you remember what you said when I asked you, what do you do when things get challenging, or what's the most challenging thing? Do you remember what you said?
An important challenge that we have in the winery is to eliminate the sulfites, the added sulfites to the wine, no? My father and my grandfather start to think about this around 25 years ago. But the technology, the climate was completely different than today. And they say that they start to change something little by little, no? And the most important challenge was to maintain the wine drinkable with the structure of the wine that we have today, because we need the structure to support the wine without added sulfites. And we have two choices and two ways in this. Or start to make wine at 60 or 17 degrees percent of alcohol, but the wine were indeed drinkable because we changed completely the style of the wine. So, and our identity would completely gone. The other choice is start to change something before in vineyards and then in the cellar with the vinification and the process of production to arrive to give the structure in the wine that permitted to don't use sulfites. And we arrived at the end of this path in 2016, so 15 years later. Patience and passion make this, but the time do the rest, because we need time for all. And the most difficult things is remember what do you think when you start, because time pass and you change your mind because it's normal, but don't forget what you think when you start. Because when you arrive at the end, if you do all good, so you had the perfect path and you reach the goal what you want, you recognize the first thought you have when you start. If you arrive in a moment that the final result is not how you imagine, that's a problem, because you, in a moment of the path, you forget something. Sometimes we hear some interview, we see some interview of famous people that say, I remember when I was a child, I didn't have nothing, and now I'm completely opposite, so I'm rich and I have all. Yeah, it's true, because they didn't forget the point where they start. And like in the wine, when we decided to make the harvest, we decided tasting the grapes. And from this moment, we start to think about the final result in wine. But some wines arrive 10 years later in market. And how to remember what you, the first day when you take the grape from the vineyards, it's impossible. This is why we write everything, to don't forget. Because the wine, for example, when the wine born, so finish the fermentation, is undrinkable. A Vino Nobile is undrinkable. And if it's drinkable, it's a problem, because don't have the structure to support the process of aging in wood. So it's important that the wine be undrinkable at the end of the fermentation. It's like the life, no? There is a moment, especially it happened to young people that don't know what they want to do in their life. No, when you finish the school and you are not sure what you want to do. In the wine, if you do the right aging, you will have a good wine. If you do the wrong aging, you don't have a good wine. And that's the same in the life, no? Because if you follow your path, you arrive at your goal. If you follow a path of another people, another person, maybe you arrive at the goal to the other person, but if you are lucky, because you are not that person.
Oh my gosh. Niccolo, you speak in poetry. I love how you are always providing examples for the concepts that you're sharing. And I know identity is a word that is used often when it comes to wine. The identity of the place that it comes from, the identity of what's going in, and that every choice, right? We must keep in mind the vision. We must keep in mind, right? What is it we're creating? Where are we headed? and remembering that, or else we can lose our way, right? There's the new technology, to your point, right? We can go in that direction, but are we losing our identity? Are we losing our awareness of what we're trying to create, for ourselves, or in your case, right, in the bottle? And there's so much just richness to that. So I just really want to invite the person who's listening to this to really sit with what are these connections we can make to this journey of life, of every milestone, of every decision point, and coming back to remembering who we are and what our desires are, what our vision is, because that is the truest path. That's what I'm taking away. That's what I want to invite folks to really sit with. But oh my gosh, I feel like I can keep talking to you and go. You have so much wisdom to share. And I think I'm not even sure that you can really appreciate the beauty in which you share your insights in life. But I thank you so much for taking the time to share it here. And I'm really excited for folks to get to know you, your beautiful view of life and of your wines. For those of you, just listening, I have a bottle in my hand that my husband and I took back, the Campaccio. And I believe Tiberini is available in the US.
Yes, available. Yeah. And we can ship in every part of the world too.
And I'm going to provide some links in the show notes to your winery and that information. And before we go, is there anything else that you want to share that you feel like, maybe we didn't get an opportunity to talk about?
I want to say to the people that hear us to think easy and don't make some problems where they don't be. When you have to do something, a choice or something, think easy, like a child. Eliminate all around the cloud that is around the choice, and you see the right choice if you eliminate the smoke and everything that is all around. No, that's the sense. But think easy. It's is the easiest way.
That is now my new mantra. Thank you so much. Think easy. I love it. Remove the cloud. Again, just your language is so beautiful. Thank you so much. I will be in touch, and maybe there'll be more conversations in our future. I sure hope so.
Yeah. I hope to see you again in Montepulciano too.
Oh my gosh, me too. I say it and I really mean this. Like, Montepulciano is my favorite town in Tuscany. I will return to it again and again. So, and now I have even more reasons to come in and see you and see your beautiful family. So thank you so much again for coming on here and, saying yes, and without really knowing exactly what you were getting into, and for sharing your wisdom beyond winemaking. It's really powerful. So I hope you know that and see that yourself.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Woo! Oh my gosh. Thank you again, Niccolo, for your time and generosity. I loved speaking with you. You were so poetic and eloquent in sharing your lessons about life, not just in the metaphor, but also in the real life examples that you gave. Like, I so appreciate you. And I hope that everyone that listens to this makes that trip to go to Montepulciano and visit Tiberini Winery, because you will not be disappointed. One of the things we didn't touch on in this conversation was one of the slogan or the tagline that the Tiberini wine uses. And I'm not going to say it well. Radici profonde. And it means deep roots. With a winery that has lasted 7 generations, it is no wonder that there was such wisdom that came out of this conversation. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with it. And I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know. Let me know what you took away. And don't forget to check the show notes to learn more about Tiberini wines and how you can get yourself some of these bottles. All right. Thank you so much again for joining, and ciao for now.